Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the season 2 finale of Uncovered. I am ecstatic. I am over the moon. I am overjoyed. I'm Jalyn Johnson, your host. This woman next to me needs no introduction, but just in case you're living under a rock, this is ESPN host, analyst, sideline reporter, basketball extraordinaire, Andraya Carter.
Hello everyone.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I can't express. I know I say I'm excited every episode, but this is a special one because we've been trying to do this for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Truly
a long time, and we're getting in her busy schedule. I just thank you so much for agreeing to do this, and I'm excited to get into your journey. And I know y'all are probably like, Jalyn, we know Andraya, but y'all don't know her. Y'all don't know her. And where I want to start, which is something that I've seen, it's like this thing that I've seen on Twitter a lot, is like that you came out of nowhere. Like your rise has just been meteoric, and like you came out of nowhere, but y'all know she's been working at this for a long time. Yeah. This is not an overnight thing. So I want you to take us back to the beginning when you first started in TV.
Yeah, wow. Well, first of all, this is so cute doing this. Very full circle moment for us, I feel like. Because
very much so.
We've just had a lot of crossings and a lot of, we've just been, in with each other for a long time.
Yes.
So it means a lot that you wanted me to be a part of this.
Of course.
When did it all start? I started my first time ever doing anything connected to broadcasting was in 2016 online. And I did online games even when I got on TV, which my first TV game was in 2017. So it was a year later. I had an opportunity to be on TV, but in 2017 and also in 2018, I was still doing games online. I maybe even did games online in 2019 just because I needed reps.
Yeah.
So, I started, my first game was in 2017. I didn't go full time on TV until 2021. It was pretty incredible. Like just, to have, for 4 years, I did TV on the side. I was a fitness coach that called games on the side. I sold crown molding and called games on the side. I drove for Uber and I drove for Lyft, and I picked up these odds and end jobs. My aunt used to work in music festivals, and I would go serve drinks at these music festivals just to make money and also to get into the music festivals.
Right.
Because TV and doing games on TV didn't give me insurance. It didn't give me a consistent check. I would get paid for every game that I did, but if a game got canceled, I wasn't getting paid. Mm-hmm. So it took, 4 years to be on salary with ESPN. So it was 4 years in the trenches doing odd end games. I was full-time at Orange Theory Fitness, trying to get into TV. And so what people see, I think, are like these last 3 years where it has exploded. But I really had the opportunity to find myself and find my voice when no one was really watching. And I think those years sort of underground helped me prepare for what has been a recent explosion, but it has been a longer journey than most people see.
Yes. Y'all heard that. 2016, baby. Yeah. She's been grinding.
Yeah.
How did you keep yourself motivated during that time? Because when we met, when I first started with ESPN, when we were both living in Charlotte, and I remember her being like, I'm going to coach, or I'm going to, at Orange Theory. How did you keep yourself motivated, knowing where you wanted to be and then realizing where you were in that moment?
I was motivated because it's what I wanted. Like I wanted to, once I realized how much I loved talking about basketball, and mind you, I was doing other sports for a while. Also, when I went full time, the only reason ESPN let me go full time is because I agreed that I would do football sideline reporting, and I would do a football show, and I would do basketball. And so I would start this year-round TV career doing football and doing basketball. And then they also tapped me into softball. And so there were all these things that I was doing. But before I went full time, I just loved it. Like I loved it, and to be honest, it fit in my life so well because I also loved coaching fitness classes. Mm-hmm. I loved coaching at Orange Theory. I loved doing TV, and so I just felt like if I could do two things that I love and try to be as great as I could in both. Like every day at Orange Theory, I wanted to be great. I wanted to practice interacting with people and being confident on the mic and doing these things and being great in this space so I could also be great on TV. And my goal was just to continue being great and connecting to people no matter where I was, whether I was on TV or at Orange Theory. And I just felt like if I would put my best foot forward every day, no matter where I was, my ultimate goal would happen. And so I think I just started to try to become the person I wanted to be on TV every day. And trying to do that, I felt like would help me go full-time on TV eventually. Like if I just showed up as the person I wanted to be with the career I wanted, if I just showed up as that person every day and worked as hard as I could, I felt like it could happen. But I wanted it. And I just love basketball so much. And so I think that kept me motivated. Like the thought that I could have a job connected to the game that I love and that I miss. There was nothing that was going to slow me down in that.
Andraya's being modest because she played at basketball at Tennessee. So she was a really great basketball player during her time. Come on, But I think one of the things that's interesting about making that transition, I think as student athletes, just to anything, is coming to the realization when you realize you're not going to be playing, you know, professionally after college. How did you come to that realization, and how did you deal with that realization that, you know, basketball wasn't going to be the professional career for you?
Yeah, that was hard. You know, it was so hard. I tore my ACL my senior year in high school. And then my freshman year in college, came back from my ACL, was starting, playing well. Like I felt like I was going to build, and then I tore my labrum in my shoulder. And it was actually something I injured in high school that I re-injured and ended up having shoulder surgery. And it was my right shoulder, shooting shoulder. So then I missed my freshman year. Came back my sophomore year, finally feeling good, and I tore my meniscus in my knee. And I wanted to play through that because I missed playing so much. And it ended up, you say, you know, how did the decision happen? The decision was almost made for me. Because, and I feel thankful because I actually feel like I loved basketball so much. I think I would have tried to play as long as possible and I probably would have been the player that was bouncing around from team to team and holding on to the game so hard, like clenched fists, if it weren't for the doctors sitting me down, you know, at 23 and saying, you need a knee replacement. If you have a professional basketball career, you're not going to be able to walk. Like your knee's not going to hold up. And I also, even after my sophomore year, my junior year playing and senior year playing, I was in so much pain. So I was hurting all the time. Like in the game, there were certain moves that would hurt. There were certain things that would hurt, but a lot of times the adrenaline would kick in. But once the game was over and the next day walking to class and, you know, just daily, I was hurting so bad. Like I feel healthier now than I did in college, but it's because I'm not playing basketball anymore. I'm not making those lateral movements and those cuts and all of those things. So honestly, the decision was made for me, and I'm almost thankful for that because I don't think I would have given up playing if it weren't for the conversations and the doctors and all of those things. But it was really hard, and it's still hard. There are still times where I had a dream last night that I was playing basketball. Like it's my most prominent dream. That I'm playing and I'm healthy and I feel good and I miss it. But it's also really hard for me to be upset about playing not working out for me because I love my life so much now. You know?
No, I get that.
But it was hard at the time.
I'm sure it was because you have this dream for a long time and then it's like you have to, I guess like readjust and let it go and go on to something, but you're great at what you do now. Where did your love of basketball come from?
I honestly, I don't know. I mean, my dad put me in it when I was 4 and I just loved it. Honestly, I had a elementary school coach, Pam Overstreet, who told my parents, because they didn't know much about basketball. I mean, my dad is the one who coached me, trained me and everything, but it was Pam Overstreet, who I give credit to, when I was young, she told my parents, Andraya needs to play 2 years up. And so I don't know what it was about that, but I was young, but I was pretty tall for my age, and I was just like kind of lanky, and I don't know what it was that I loved about it, but I loved it. Like it's all I wanted to do. It's all I did. And my parents were very strict. Like they had very set things that I had to do every day, and we set goals, but even in the dribbles I had to do and the things we had to do in the driveway and playing with my dad, I never hated it. I never didn't want to do it. I never didn't enjoy it. I always enjoyed it. The running, the sprinting, the working, the game.
She loves it, honey.
I loved it. I loved every bit of it. So yeah, I don't know where it came from, but I do feel like, and I hope that people who are chasing a dream and fall short, I think knowing what it feels like to chase something is what has helped me chase my dream of broadcasting now. Like I know what it feels like to put in the work and put in the time with a goal in mind, and that same mentality has just transitioned to a new field. It's not basketball anymore, it's broadcasting, but that same mindset of working and trying to be great at something. I wasn't as great as I wanted to be playing, but now I want to be as great as I can be in this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you remember your first time on air, like how you were?
Terrible. Yes. I do remember.
I'm sure you weren't terrible,
It was
sister.
pretty bad.
What do you remember about the experience?
I remember nerves, which nerves still happen. I take deep breaths before every show, but I remember nerves. My voice was very high pitched, which, when you're nervous, yeah, so nerves for sure. I remember just wondering if I was doing it right. Like I remember is this what I'm supposed to say? Am I supposed to? And I remember constantly thinking that probably wasn't right. That probably wasn't right. But I also remember loving sitting courtside and watching the game and getting into it and enjoying it and really thinking about what was happening out there on the court. But I don't know, I go to Pam Overstreet, I go to, Pat Lowry, who was kind of helpful in this broadcasting space as far as giving me an opportunity. There have just been people in my life who have seen potential when I didn't see it or I didn't know it was there. And I don't know what it was that they saw, and be it my mentors, obviously Maria Taylor, LaChina Robinson, who's a godsend. But there are just so many people around me who have seen something in me and felt like I would be good at it and helped me believe that. And if you would have told me my first game that I would be doing what I'm doing now, I'd have been like, there's no way. I'm just doing this for some money on the side.
On the side.
That's all I was trying to do, was make a few $100s
and go
and get out. But it was really bad. We've come a long way.
I've seen her first reel that she put together.
So
It was not horrible. The voice was very high.
It was rough. We could still also just say the gap between then and now is drastic.
Well, how do you feel like you got from that first reel to here? What did it take in your mind, just what you had to do to prepare to get to how good you are now?
Probably like anything, just reps. The more that I did it, the more confident I felt in it. And also watching myself, critiquing myself with other people. I would sit with the Tennessee, they have Vol for Life Films, and they have a good crew there. And Stacia, who works there, she still works there actually. She's incredible. But she would sit with me and we would watch our games. And a guy named Tom was there at the time. He's not there anymore. He would sit with me and we would watch games, and they would give me critique, and they would critique my work. And that and reps, and then watching analysts that I liked. I would watch a game, and whatever the analyst said, I would repeat it in my own words about those same players, at the time that I was watching. And so I would just try to find my own voice and my own cadence and my own rhythm. But I honestly think it was just reps. And I really took, once I got with the SEC network, and the producers on those shows, George and Jonathan are their names, those two producers really asking me what I wanted to talk about and giving me the confidence to choose things that I felt the most passionate about and that came the most natural to me. Once I realized that, and that's when my best work and my best voice would come forward, those guys really helped me. And being on that show with Alyssa Lang and Steffi Sorensen, and I was with people that I was so close to, that's when I first felt myself come to air. And once I felt that, and once I realized, oh, I can just be myself, it all really, I would say, took off from there.
What is being yourself on air? Because I think that's something a lot of people coming into broadcast, me still, I feel like, am I being myself?
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like I'm being myself, or somebody really close to me, like my mom will say, that wasn't you.
Yeah.
How did you find comfortability in being yourself?
I would say I still try to find it, like depending on certain shows, I might not feel as much like myself as I do on other shows. It's still something that I struggle with, or new spaces, or a new show that I'm a part of. I don't feel as loose, or I don't feel as comfortable being myself. But I think, when you are yourself, it's just your natural reactions, your natural facial expressions, and obviously things have to be a little buttoned up for TV, right? Like there's all of that being put in mind, but I think when it almost is like, athletes talk about being in a flow state. And I think when you're in a flow state as an analyst or a broadcaster, you know the material, it comes to you very quickly, you can recall the information and it flows out of you. And there's also just this relaxed feeling to it. Like I feel like I'm myself when I feel like I'm myself when I'm not thinking about how I should be. Like when that thought process leaves, I'm not thinking about what I should say, I just say it.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about how I should react, I just react. That's when I'm myself, when I'm not having to think about what's coming out of my mouth or my behaviors on set. Once those are out, then I'm myself.
Being yourself.
Yeah.
I want to go back. You were talking about how people around you saw potential in you that you maybe didn't see in yourself. Was there a pressure to that, to know that there were people around you that felt like you could do this, but you didn't necessarily see it in yourself yet?
I would say there wasn't a pressure because those people were always a phone call away. Like I think let's just use LaChina for example. I think if LaChina was like, you can do it, like you can do this, and then sent me on my way, I would be like, oh my gosh, I have to do it. I have to, make sure she's right, and I have to make sure that I prove her right, and I have to, but because doubt is always going to creep in.
Absolutely.
And I think when you feel doubt is when you feel pressure, and when those things start to build. But because LaChina always picked up the phone when I called, if I had a moment of doubt, there was always relief. There was always reassurance. And so that, I think, the belief in me was still very accessible. It wasn't this distant belief. Like, you can do it. You got it. Don't worry. You'll be fine. She was, I use LaChina because she was the main person pouring into me. And she always picked up the phone. So no, I wouldn't say I felt any pressure because I really believed her. And if I started to doubt it, I would call her. And she would never give me what felt like fake reasons to believe in myself. Like her reasons were very concrete and they were very, I could stand on them. So no, I didn't ever feel any pressure from that aspect, but I think it's because she was always a phone call away.
Yeah. Well, now that we're talking about LaChina, we are Rising Media Stars sisters.
We are.
So can you talk about how Rising Media Stars played a part in your journey so far and what it meant to be, or what it still means to be a part of this organization?
Yeah, Rising Media Stars was huge actually because I went into Rising Media Stars saying I would never be a sideline reporter. I just didn't, I thought it was too hard, like standing in front of a camera, you have such a short amount of time to make your points, you can't really fix it if you mess up.
Yep.
I think the difference in a show, we're just talking to each other on a show.
Right.
sideline reporting, it's just you and the camera. And that's actually harder, I think, than people believe it is. But Rising Media Stars gave me my first reps as a sideline reporter, gave me my first experience as a sideline reporter, gave me some inside knowledge on what's do's and don'ts of sideline reporting. And, it was shortly after that I tapped into sideline reporting for basketball. This is still when I was part-time. I did sideline reporting for the G League Winter Showcase. And then, a year came around and I did sideline reporting for the SEC tournament. And then when I went full-time, it included sideline for football. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't have agreed to do any of those early sideline opportunities if it weren't for Rising Media Stars. So that's like a tangible example. I also just think the feeling like I was on a team and having that support system and talking to women in the field, and Raz Godamwode was kind of my mentor, and so I got to pick her brain through Rising Media Stars, and now she's someone I consider a friend, which is so crazy. But I just think Rising Media Stars, again, was a step for me to find myself and find confidence in this new field. And it gave me teammates and sisters to do it with, and we could share our experiences, and just the access and the understanding that we gained through Rising Media Stars was, honestly, it was really pivotal for me at that time.
We call her One Take Dre in Rising Media Stars because when she would go in front of the camera, that's what the tale is. We didn't get to see her during that time, but when she went in front of the camera, she would have one take and she would be done.
Dramatic.
I believe it. I believe it.
Dramatic.
So when you think about when you went full-time, going into sideline and agreeing to do sideline for football and doing softball and basketball, now that you are at a point in your career where basketball is where you are, when did you know that it was okay for you to start saying no to things?
Yeah. I felt like it was okay. I had to really put thought process into it. And it came to my mind when Candace Parker said something about retiring. Mm-hmm. And she said something along the lines of like, when I get tired of putting the work in every day, like when I get tired of the prep and when I get tired of those things, because in our field, the games are always exciting. Like once you're on the football field, it's exciting. Once you're on the softball field, it's exciting. You're watching these amazing athletes work and compete. And so when I started to feel frustrated with the prep and feel, agitated and not in alignment when I was preparing for the games, that's when it started to click with me that maybe this isn't the right space for me to be in. And a lot of it came from, the second year that I did football sideline was the first year that I really had a heavy WNBA load. And so there was a lot of overlap. Yeah. And so I found myself while preparing for football wanting to prepare more for the W. And it's nothing against football, I just love basketball. Yeah. And so I've started feeling this pull that I was in spaces, physically, but my mind and my heart were wanting to be in other spaces. Like I was leaving a WNBA game to go to football and I didn't want to leave the WNBA game. And so once there started to be this overlap, and once I started getting more basketball opportunities, it made sense for me to let go of those other sports. But I think proving myself in those other sports helped me get those opportunities, like showing I could show up for SEC football and be prepared and report. There were people in the W space that saw that and they're like, okay, we're gonna move her to ESPN WNBA games. So, it all kind of fits together. But I think, when I started realizing I could say no was, it took a while. Like I didn't really say no to anything until probably the year I let go of football. Like that was my first time saying no. And that was only a few years ago. So yeah, it was a challenge. And I still struggle with it. There are things I'm like, should I do this? Should I not do this? Should I say yes? Should I say no? It's a constant battle because you want to work and you want to put yourself out there and you want to take advantage of every opportunity, but you also have to protect yourself and your mental and your bandwidth and your inner peace and not be spread too thin. And I say no now when I know it's not worth risking like how I feel internally.
Do you think that toting that line has something to do with where you are in your career as well? Do you think that has something to do with, as far as like, you know, wanting to take those opportunities and get those reps, but then also knowing like, should I say no to this? Because what if I don't get another chance? Do you think that comes with where you are in your career?
I think so. I think there is a level of comfort in knowing I'm in the spaces that I want to be in. You know, I'm covering the teams I want to cover. I'm in the spaces that I want to work in, so I don't necessarily have to say yes to outside opportunities. Like these outside opportunities, it's okay if they don't come back to me. I have what I want.
Yeah.
You know, I have what I know. It'd be different if I was trying to change careers or go to a different, you know, space or a different sport. I might have to stack up some opportunities that I don't necessarily have the time for because I'm trying to move into that space. But right now, I'm really good with what I have and I'm good where I am. So it is a lot easier to say no to some of these other things because I do think I've established, you know, my presence and value. And I think that's why a lot of people, and why in the beginning, you want to say yes to everything because you want to show people your value. You want to show up and do a great job so that more people see what you're capable of. But once you get to a place where the most important people have seen it and they trust it, you don't feel as obligated to say yes all the time.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite spaces to see you in is with what has become known as the Big Three. Okay, baby.
Yeah.
That coverage of the women's tournament last year, I think, is probably some of the best on-air broadcasting work that I have seen. And just like the coverage overall, you guys as a unit just work well together. I would love to know how that trio became a thing and who was responsible for putting that together and where that idea came from.
Wow, I believe the original idea came from Dave Roberts, who is, you know, one of our bosses at ESPN, and it honestly clicked immediately. You know, it worked so well, and I think the biggest key was and is just how what you see on air in terms of our chemistry is exactly how we are off air. And how we are off air is how we are on air. You know, I've been in different spaces where I have more fun with the crew when the lights are off. Like when we're not on the show, there's more of a relaxed feeling where we have more fun on that. You know, we have more fun at dinner than we have on air. And for some reason it doesn't translate. That's not how it is with the Big Three. Like what you see is exactly what you get. And there was such a natural connection between the three of us. And we're all so different too. That's the you know, just there's this really great balance of personalities and experiences, and the lifestyles that we live are all different too, but it just meshes really well. So yeah, shout out to Dave Roberts for putting it together.
Shout out to Dave Roberts. Thank you so much.
Yes, but also just shout out to Ellen Shanae, because I do think, you know, I mentioned Alyssa and Steffi.
Yeah.
It's another space where I just feel like myself. Obviously I feel like that when I'm with LaChina on air and on all that, but for me, Ellen Shanae, it was the perfect combination of personalities and strengths and those things, plus a long runway of amazing games.
Yeah.
So it just was this incredible opportunity to just be together and work and enjoy it and have the best games. You know, like if we had the three of us, but then the games weren't good, I don't know if it would have exploded the way it did. But we had us and the players putting on these incredible performances, which gave us so much to talk about so passionately. So the two things it
just all meshed together perfectly. What has it been like to be in the midst of this boom in women's athletics, but just women's basketball specifically? It's
so fun. You know, like it's incredible to get, you know, a call from Good Morning America to talk women's basketball, right? Like, you know, a couple weeks ago they wanted a segment on UConn and South Carolina, and this is Good Morning America, right? And so it's like, it's really special, I think, for other people and other entities and other businesses and those things to recognize the value of women's sports. And then for me at times to be the connecting piece between those. Like, of course I'll come on and talk about how great these women are easily. Like, or of course I'll come on and put on a debate with you to get fans fired up. Of course I'll do that, right? Like whatever it is. So I do feel very honored to be the middle ground between people that recognize the value but want to know more about the game and these athletes. And then between the athletes and the businesses and the shows and the bigger platforms also. So I do feel like I'm a bit in the middle. And for me, I'm just like, of course, like, come, what do you need? What do you need from me? But it's truly special. It's not something I take lightly. And I want to be my best for the athletes because they're doing amazing things and they deserve it. And so it challenges me to show up as my best, every day to make sure I'm sharing how special these athletes are every opportunity that I can get so the game can continue to grow.
And being, I guess, a face of this boom, I think it also opens you up to the negative side of it, right? Social media and the trolls and all the things. Just in this business in general, how do you deal with, if you do deal with, social media, negative comments, just being people feeling like they know you enough to be able to attack you in certain ways?
Yeah, it's probably the hardest thing, definitely. And it's also hard too because in this business, a lot of times, and it's just the nature of it, if we're having a full conversation, but someone cuts 30 seconds of what I said, and there's no disclaimer on the front end, there's no context on the back end, you're just hearing me say this one thing, people get fired up about that.
Yeah.
And people can take it the wrong way. And so the one thing I try to do is make sure all my analysis is analysis only. Like, none of it is personal. None of it comes from a place that is connected to anything personal. It's just the game and it's what I'm seeing. And that helps me when there is a lot of outside noise that they're connecting a million different things to what I said, but I know what I said and why I said it. So that helps for sure. But a lot of times now I don't see any of it.
Good.
Like, I've really put myself in a space where, and it's hard because I know that I miss probably a lot of positive comments and positive messages. And I'm always like, wow, I want to get back to those people because I know there are people that are sending support and sending, great compliments. And I want to thank them for that. But to get to those people, I have to go through the really negative comments. And so I can't. So I don't messages from people I don't follow don't come in my inbox on any social media platform. I don't see
y'all
them.
not getting to her.
So if you're sending things positive, thank you. If you're sending things that are negative, I don't see it. So like comments, DMs, on any social media platform, they don't get to me anymore because I don't see them. But they did, like a couple of years ago, there have been a couple instances where people were very fired up about certain things and just going insane in my inbox. And that's when I had to realize something had to change because it was affecting me. And I had a really hard time with it. So I just had to cut it off.
Why is it so important for your mental to be solid in this field?
Probably for that reason, because everyone has a lot to say in this space. Everyone thinks they're a coach. Everyone thinks they're an analyst. Everyone thinks they're a player. Everyone, I think, there's so much outside noise. And there's also, players and coaches can take things personally, and that's hard. That's not always easy to do. I don't mean anything personally, but I think naturally when you're a competitor and someone says they don't think your team's gonna win or they don't think you have enough to get it done, that gets taken on a personal level, even when it's not meant that way. And so to stand confidently and strong and know I'm coming from a good place and know that I belong in this space, even if people hate the sound of my voice or hate the way I look or hate the way there's always going to be people that don't like it.
Yeah.
And I think having the confidence and belief in yourself to just do it is, that's why my mental has to be in a good place.
What do you do to make sure that you are keeping Drea when she's off air centered and happy and refreshed?
I meditate, which helps a lot. I have a therapist. Her name is Laura. She's amazing.
Shout out to
Laura's
therapy.
my girl.
Yes, therapy.
Laura's my girl. I've actually been, I've worked with Laura since 2020.
Okay.
And she's amazing. So I meditate, work with Laura. I always stay tapped into my people.
Yes.
You know, I mentioned LaChina. I have a handful of best friends that I try to stay tapped into and close with and connected to. I work out a lot. That is like the one thing that keeps me feeling good. Like if I feel good physically and I know I've worked out and I know that I'm taking care of myself, then I can perform at the best level on air. So I think just taking care of the things that are important to me, staying connected to the people that are important to me. And I also love a lot of things. Like I love to read, I love to play video games, so creating little pockets of space to just do something else.
Yeah.
And get my mind to back to ground level. So yeah, I think those things are probably just how I stay fresh and stay my best.
When you have time. Because what does the week in a life of Dre look like?
Well, it depends on the time of year, but you know, like this week, for example, and this has been the last, you know, couple of months just because this is a really busy time.
Yeah.
So tomorrow I'll go to Duke to tape an interview, so that's Wednesday. So I got home Sunday. I was home Monday, Tuesday, which is great. Today's Tuesday.
2 days.
Love that.
Tuesday.
But you know, Wednesday I'll go to Duke, taping an interview. Really excited about that. And then after that I'll go to Connecticut, which is Thursday. We have a show in Connecticut Thursday night, and then I have 2 games Thursday night that I'm doing halftimes for. Friday I'll fly to Florida, and we'll have a meeting. I'll get a workout in. Probably have a meeting at Florida. Saturday morning I have a show in Florida, and then I'll fly to South Bend, Indiana. Probably have a meeting late at night. Sunday I have a show at Notre Dame, and then Monday morning I'll fly home, and I'll be home Tuesday, Wednesday. So home a couple days a week, but it's good. That's just the busy time though.
Yeah, that's the busy time.
But the good thing about this job is like when I'm on, but when I'm off, I'm off.
Yeah.
Like when I'm not on TV, my days consist of whatever I need to. Obviously I need to watch film and prep and do those things, but you know, if it's a slow season or if it's an off season or I have a couple weeks, you know, I really do whatever I want. So it's hard to complain.
What does it really take to be successful in this business?
Wow. So many things. The first thing that comes to my mind is a support system. I just think that you have to have people in your life that know who you are and know you really well and can recognize when you're not yourself on air or when you feel off on a phone call with that person, and they're like, hey, are you good? Like those people in the support system and the people that watch your shows and just love on you, and the people that you can go to get away, and the people that don't care if, you know, Twitter trolls are blowing up your mentions, or like just, you need a support system.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that changes in this field. There's a lot of opportunities that come and go, and people lose their jobs. And you know, the thing about TV is people could love you one day and then hate you the next day.
Yes.
You could be the most popular person and then people could not stand you for something that you said. So I think a support system is probably the biggest thing, number one thing I would say. There are a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know, time management, you know, self-awareness, hard work, diligence, confidence, right? But I think the support system would be the biggest for me.
As you have gone throughout your journey, how did you handle going from being the person that was trying to get an opportunity and trying to find those mentors to being somebody that now has mentees? I consider this one of like my sister and my mentor, because when I was going through it, when I first started with ESPN, it was my first job out of grad school.
Yeah.
When I called her, she would answer. And so I appreciate her so much for the career that I have, because a lot of my self-confidence came from things that you said to me.
Yeah.
So how did you go from being someone who was a mentee to now being someone that people look up to and aspire to be?
Yeah. That's an interesting question. It's interesting because I still have my mentors.
Right.
You know, so it's like, it's hard for me, but I do think that paying it forward is real. Like I'll never be able to pay LaChina back. I'll never be able to pay back Maria, like Maria Taylor. I'll never be able to pay back the women that have inspired me.
Yeah.
I can't, because what they have done for me is there's nothing I could do. The only way I can show them that how they changed my life is by helping as many people as I can, the same way that they helped me. So that's probably the biggest thing. I want to be an open book. Because I remember what it feels like to not have confidence and to feel lost and to feel confused, and it was not a good, it's a terrible feeling.
Yeah.
And so if I can provide some sort of relief to this next wave, I also think too, I want the game to be covered at a high level. I want sports to be covered at a high level, even when I'm done. And so if I can pour into as many people as possible and help them find their way, people always say like the game is in a good place. I want sports broadcasting to be in a good place.
Yes.
And I want, women especially, to feel confident and feel like they can be themselves, because there's still a lot of people who don't want us here.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the amazing women that show up every day and do this great work, there are still so many people. Like I can name so many analysts that I love listening to and I love watching, like Mina Kimes, Kimberly Martin. Like I watch them on air and they're so themselves and they inspire me, and if I can be that for this next group, that's all I want to do. But it's a pay it forward mentality for sure.
You have paid it forward for me personally, and so I wanted to make sure that I said that on camera and to her. I tell her this all the time, but you have been such an inspiration, and I'm just so thankful for our friendship. But last question of the season. This is so sad.
Look at you.
Oh my gosh. Why is it important for you to be uncovered?
Wow. I think it's important because I hope people can see me and my story and trust and believe that chasing a dream is worth it, even if you fall short, because it means something to know how to chase a dream, and there's something on the other side of falling short, and probably something that you would never imagine, and that's better than you could have ever imagined on the other side of failure. And I hope that, and that finding yourself again is possible. So.
Come on, preach. We be preaching on here, y'all.
With a good support system.
Come on. You need your girlies. You have to get your girlies together.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate them. Tell everybody the social medias that they can follow you and catch up with all your things.
Andraya_Carter, ANDRAYA_ Carter on everything.
All right. Well, y'all go follow her. She's awesome. Amazing.
So is Jalyn.
Oh, thank you.
Jalyn. Thank you for this. You were great.
Thank you.
Beautiful moderating, beautiful hosting. Proud of you.
Yeah. Every time I be wanting to cry at the end of these, but thank you. I appreciate you so much. All right, y'all. Well, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, share, all the things so we can blow up. And so people can hear the good stories. And I will see y'all next season. Thank you so much for sticking around. I will probably, do a little video on my couch and tell y'all how much I love y'all and how much I thank y'all. Y'all know that's my thing. But until then, love y'all.